So we've looked at what we need to do with the Polyline tool to trace around these. This is going to be the first thing that we practice with. Once we've done that, our next step is to go through and we're going to try to create a mosaic over top of this smiley face emoji. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to change my view to 200%. I'm going to scroll down to where I can see that smiley face. I'm going to pick up my Polyline tool. Make sure you're choosing Polyline and not one of the other tools on here. And I'm going to start just making shapes that are going to fill in the shape of this smiley face. So I'm going to lay down my first point and I'm just going to follow the outside edge of the smiley face. And you can make this any shape that you want to. As long as you keep in mind that the more complicated your shape is, the harder it's going to be for you to make all of the pieces fit together. Each shape that you put in here has to be closed. So each time you create a shape, your starting point has to be the same as your ending point. So I have now closed this shape. I'm going to change the color of it to yellow. I'm going to leave these black lines on the outside so you can kind of see how the shapes fit together. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to pick one of these sides and I'm going to start clicking to create the next shape. With each one of these shapes, we need them to fit together like a puzzle piece. So we need them to be we need there to be small but uniform gaps between the pieces. So I'm going to click right here, just a little bit over from where I started the first one. I'm going to go straight line down and I'm going to follow these lines over here. So I'm going to click to set those. And I can keep taking this shape around, or I can create a different shape if I want to. So I'm going to go back up here. But the most important thing is, number one, that you create closed shapes, and number two, that you create those pieces that fit together like puzzle pieces with those small uniform gaps between each one. So I'm just going to keep going, filling this in, staying close to the other shape. If you make a shape and you later decide that you don't like what it looks like, you can always click on it to delete it or remove it. But you need to keep the gaps between your shapes small and make sure that their shapes are fitting together. If you're having a hard time getting started, something that you can do is start by creating triangles along the outside until you kind of get the hang of what you need to do to finish it. Something you are going to have to work around is your eyes. So I go to the outside and I start laying points and creating a shape around the outside shape of my eye. And you're going to want to make those fit together with that shape. You don't have to make tiny shapes, but the bigger your shapes are, kind of the less like a mosaic it looks. So we're going to go around the eyes when we do this. So you're going to have to work around the shape of the eye. But then don't forget that when you're finished, you're also going to have to go in and create the shape of the eye. And if you mess up like I just did there, you're just going to click it, hit delete, pick your tool back up, and start again. Keep in mind that your goal as you're making your mosaic is that once we delete this background image, you should still be able to tell what your mosaic is a picture of. The last thing that you don't want to forget is you want to go through and fill in your eyes. You're not going to be able to change the color until after you make that initial shape, so I'm just following around the curves. I'm going to make mine at least a couple different pieces, but I'm going to go ahead and make them black. And I'm doing the same thing that I did on the rest. I'm following those lines around, leaving small but uniform gaps between each part. So I'm going to go through and do the other eye and do the mouth. I'm going to finish up this last piece of the mouth. If I delete that, are you still going to be able to tell what it was supposed to be? And I think you can. So this is your goal for what you want your end product to look like. You want it to be recognizable from the image that you started off covering.